easy. With great advice, I know who I should go see. So all around town radio show is where I go for the latest band info. So all around town radio show for the music that comforts my soul. It's the all around town radio
Show. It's that time, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Wednesday with the Band, live from the All Around Town Radio Studios in beautiful downtown Springboro, Ohio. Glad to have you with us today, and we're going to get right to it today because we got a heck of a lot to talk about. Let me bring into the program our good friend, Mr. Greg Amburgy today. How you doing, Greg?
Fine, Scott. How are you?
Oh, great. It's so good to have you on here. I have admired your playing for so long, and finally going to get to hear the history and story of Greg Amburgy today, and just looking so forward to this.
Should be fun.
It will. And let's get right to it because, like I said, I've got a lot to ask you. Let's say, where did Greg Amburgy, the musician, come to be? How did all this happen?
Well, I get it. It all starts for me with church music. You know, when I was younger, well, we went to a Pentecostal church, so we had like 17 church services a week, and each one had to have music. So, I think I started playing guitar in church when I was about 10, and when I was about 11, one of the guys in the band told my dad. He said, "Hey, he's actually playing some good stuff. We should get him an amplifier," because I was just playing an acoustic guitar. And so I did that, and then when I was 15, we moved to a larger church that had this great music program, and I got to play, bass, piano, guitar, organ, whatever was available. I would move in and play, and I got great mentors at this church, like Jimmy Phillips. Had a profound influence on my music ability. He was our music director, a great pianist and singer and arranger and everything. And so he taught me so much. We learned all the different ways that you communicate with music, which is really helpful as you get older. Like I think about music in the Nashville number system. That's what I learned really early. And so when I am breaking down a song to learn a new song, I hear it in numbers, which is really just hillbilly music theory is what we call it. But it takes basically, it's all built on a major scale. So you can write a number chart and then it'll transpose to any key. Like if you're in G and you want to go up to A flat, you can use the same numbers. You just know what the chords are in A flat. So I learned that, and didn't really my early music life, what I really loved was Black gospel music. Like my favorite artist of all time was Andre Crouch. And that was the first concert I think I ever went to. I was about 14 at the Taft Auditorium. And that just blew me away. And that made me really want to play piano a lot, and organ, because that music was so keyboard oriented. And so I really dove into that at about 16 or 17, where before I'd been playing guitar mostly. So that's so. I got to mention, in school, I went to Fairfield schools, and they had an excellent music program. So I learned a lot from school. They had people like Paul Toms was this great vocal coach. I got to take a year of voice lessons from him, mainly learning how to breathe. And I still have those habits, 50 years later, that I learned from Mr. Toms. He was great.
What a voice you have, sir, by the way. Well, I must say it's wonderful. I enjoy it so much. And you said some things in there, two things that hit with me every time I interview somebody. A lot of people talk about their roots in the church, getting started with music in the church, and then a local music program in the schools. And boy, has that changed due to budget cuts, all those things. Back when I was in school, our music program was so important in our school and my high school and so on. And you
Yep.
look at it today, it's just not the same as it used to be. And there were so many passionate teachers who were teaching the music and so on. So it's you hit it right on the head there. Those roots, and I apologize for my dogs going crazy out in the background today. They're
fine.
anytime I do a live show, somebody decides to ring the doorbell. So that's what's shaking today at my house. So how long would you say that's been? How many years would you say that's been, Greg, since you started this?
Well, I'm 64, so I think I've been playing in front of people for 54 years. And then it got bigger as I was in my late teens. I got a lot of really good opportunities to travel some and all that. And then that really took off when I was about 20, and I went to California to be Nancy Harmon's piano player. She had a TV show on Trinity Broadcasting Network every week, and then we were on all the other Christian broadcasting networks all the time, traveling all over the country. That was a pretty big deal.
I'm laughing at a couple comments that are coming in here. Everybody, there's a standing joke about you never being in the pictures with the band, and Chris Reese is talking about could you put that mic stand in front of you so we have an obstructive view?
Here.
There it is, and Johnny Fink getting his digs in. We're going to get our digs in on Johnny Fink later, probably, but he says,
Absolutely.
glad you have a baseball hat. He thought you were Burl Ives, the snowman from Rudolph. Thank you. Thanks so much.
I got my Danny Frazier hat on here.
And I got to say hi. I got to say hi to a few people checking in with us. We've got a lot of people joining us today. Dixie Roberts, thank you. Brian Middendorf, Kevin Cooper, Gina McCann, of course. Beth, thank you. Brian, Glenn checking in as well. A lot of you here today. And if you have a question for Greg, throw it in the comments. I'll get it up on the screen today. We'll see if we can address it. But Greg, over the years, what groups have you been involved in that have been memorable for you?
Oh, let's see. I wrote down. I'll hit the highlights, and I'll probably leave out about 10. But that big youth choir when I was a teenager was a huge thing. The Fairfield Choraleers, and then I had 2 Christian rock bands. One called Sojourner, and another one called Zamar. And then I was with Nancy Harmon. Then I came back to Cincinnati and got in the Cincinnati Shakers. And then Fraser River, which had a record deal on the Decca label on MCA. Then the Danny Frazier Band, which I'm still playing with. I sometimes play with the Varner Netherton Revival. I played with those guys at the Jeff Ruby Stakes race on Saturday. That was a blast. And then the Gina and Johnny Band, only when they got enough money for Johnny to pay me. And
we know how squeaky tight he is.
Oh yeah, yes. Johnny can be a little tight with the money. And then there's the Eagles Project, which we'll talk about too.
Oh yeah, and I do want to get into that because I'm coming off a wonderful show Saturday with you guys, and just a remarkable show. But when you say all these bands, do you have a particular type of music you like to play, or are there certain song choices that you like to go out and play? You have more fun with?
Yeah, what I listen to is jazz. I listen to stuff that I'm not very good at playing. I love to go to jazz shows. I go to the symphony. I do. It's all over the place. As long as it's good. Danny Frazier always says there's only 2 kinds of music: good music and bad music.
It's a great philosophy.
And so I like to listen to good music, and whoever's doing it. There's so many different styles and genres and everything represented in town. It's like this is funny. When I auditioned for the Eagles Project, I'd seen Tim Keys just shred the guitar with Prisoner over the years, and I'm sitting at the audition singing, and I look over at Tim, and he's playing these country licks, and all this. And I thought, man, that guy. He's this shredding heavy metal player, and he's playing all this country stuff. It was great.
Yeah, let's just, while we're talking about that, let's just segue into the Eagles project for just a second. We'll kind of
Okay.
backtrack to some other things, but there's a magic on stage with you fellas that I noticed again Saturday. I've noticed since day one watching you play, but this magic seems to be like you guys read each other's minds from the stage. You're
Yeah.
very well rehearsed, obviously, but on the other side of that, you can do anything on the fly with this band, and it's just like you look at each other, and all of a sudden somebody will take a solo and they'll do something, and you're smiling at each other. There's a chemistry between all of you, isn't there, Greg?
There really is. I always say I'm too old to play music with people I don't love, or at least like. And these guys, man, we have so much fun. Our rehearsals are a laugh a minute. And I remember at the first rehearsal we did, when we were doing Take It to the Limit, and we got to that part where it's going burning out and turning out the same. When we hit that same note, the harmony was so locked in at the first rehearsal that everybody looked at each other and went, "Oh, this might be really good."
Yeah, and it is really good. It's beyond good. And I made the comment, and thank you, by the way, for having me introduce the band that night. But I made the comment on stage that you are the best Eagles tribute in the entire nation, and I believe that 100%. I've seen
Thanks.
numerous ones, and even some of the big national touring ones that travel all over the country, who you guys are right up there with and doing your thing. And it's all about the vocals and the locked in musicianship, because every one of the people on that stage is a pro.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have any slouches, that's for sure.
And I like to mention, as far as I know, and I could be wrong, but I think we're the only tribute band that I know of that does not play with tracks. I mean, whatever you hear, we're playing on the stage. We're not doubling up a bunch of vocal tracks and singing along with them and making it sound like, we're better than we really are. We're singing what's coming out of the microphones.
Yeah, and it's remarkable. And you've got Greg back there on drums, and you've got Ken on the keyboards, and they're kind of in the background because the four guys up front doing their thing and the harmonies and all that they're going. But they're as integral a part of this as anybody. And I noticed that Ken on the keys, where he has some wonderful keyboard abilities as well. I mean,
what's crazy? Ken he studied trumpet in college. He was the bass player in the Rusty Griswolds for 20 years, and he plays keyboards in the Eagles project. It's crazy.
Yeah, and does it so well. And we'll get back to that in just a minute. Let's talk about some of your original music over the years. You've played and you've put down some tracks on some original songs. So let's talk about that.
Well, we probably the most consequential thing I've done is be part of Fraser River, which was on the Decca label back in the mid '90s, and that was really quite an experience. I'd been in recording studios a lot, but never at that level before, where we had just the top people in Nashville working with us and engineers who were just magicians and everything. It was a great experience, and that stuff's out there on YouTube if you Google or YouTube Fraser River. Different some of the videos we had. Then there's just some audio of some of the other songs, but that was really good stuff. I've done a lot of gospel CDs or records with people. I played on the new Gina and Johnny release, and
which
that was
is awesome,
fun.
by the way. It's outstanding.
That was really fun.
And that you traveled with them to Memphis as well for the International Blues Challenge, correct?
We did, and what was funny, we got down there, and we were Gina was in the Women in Blues showcase one day, and the night before we were at Alfred's where that was going to take place, and they had like an old late 1950s Hammond B3 with a 147 Leslie, and we tuned down a half step. We tuned all the guitars down a half step in that band because you know, a lot of guitar players like to do that. Make their sound a lot fuller and stuff. Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of started that. But anyway, I saw this Hammond B3 and I thought, oh man, I want to play that tomorrow with Gina. So everybody else went out hearing other bands, and I went back to the room and worked on playing the songs we were going to play a half step lower, so I could use the B3 because you can't tune a B3 down. And that was just a blast. Gina just blew people away at that thing. She was so good.
Well, and I always say about her, one of the best voices in the tri-state, and she's such a humble young lady as well. And I love that about her.
Just a super person.
That Hammond B3, you had me hooked there, because if I walk into a place anywhere and somebody's playing a Hammond B3, I'm staying. I'm not moving on to the next place. I've been in Nashville where that's happened, and I'm like, yeah, I'm staying here. I love that sound. Yeah. I'm a huge JJ Gray fan, and he has a keyboard player. I mean, just it's a different style in that. And Johnny says she's okay. Look, yeah, you better send her a Christmas card every year, Johnny. She's keeping you alive, buddy. That's all we got to say. Gina said she'll never forget you saying you were going back so you could play the real B3, and that's such a great story too, that you took the time and said, I'm going to go back and learn this because I want this sound tonight for us. And that's really cool, Greg.
Yep.
It is. Let's talk about artists that you love, artists that have influenced you over the years.
Well, first, I already mentioned Andre Crouch. I mean, that was crazy. And then one night, I don't know if you remember the name Michael Bainey. He was the bass player in Wheels and some other groups. I mean, he played with Bonnie Raitt and different people, but he was in the Cincinnati Shakers, and he grabbed me at the first break one night. He says, come out my car. You got to hear this guy. And he had an early release of Bruce Hornsby's first album. And I was listening to the way this guy makes chords, and we were in the car going, wow, this is different than anything I've ever heard. Because Bruce is famous not for his songs that were on the radio. He's famous for all the stuff that wasn't on the radio. That's what his crowd goes to hear. And we were wondering, how is he making those chords? Then we realized he's 6'6", and he's got these hands that are, you know, so he can make chords that other people can't make because he's got this huge reach. But I worked on doing a lot of Bruce Hornsby stuff, leaving the bass note alone to let the bass player do it, and you know, filling in those chords with both hands. But he was really influencing me. I love Dave Grusin, the blues player out of Memphis. He's great. And then Nancy Harmon, that I played with for a long time. Great Hammond B3 player, man. She was fantastic, and she gave me a lot of pointers on that when I was with her.
So how many instruments do you play?
Pretty much now I just play bass and keyboards. I mean, I can still play guitar, but nobody's going to pay me to do that. And
all right.
I've had a couple of disastrous times in church where I actually tried to play drums, and it did not go well. No. I'll just put it that way. Drums are not my thing.
I can't have rhythm and chew gum at the same time, I don't think. Yeah, that's the way it works. So lots of artists have influenced you over the years, obviously. Do you have any fondest musical memories as you were growing up, maybe, or even after you became a superstar in Cincinnati?
One time, I think it was third grade, me and my best friend, Mark Arnold, they were having some kind of show and tell thing at school, and we were going to get up and do that song from Hee Haw, I searched the world over and thought I found true love. You met another and you was gone. Remember that?
I remember it.
Okay,
Archie Griffin, or
I
not
go
Archie
walking
Griffin,
into
Archie somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went walking into school with my guitar case, and I was not cool. There was nothing cool about me in third grade. And I just remember kids looking at me like, wow, he's cool. And I thought, oh, okay, maybe I need to carry this thing around more. But that was just a great feeling, you know.
Well, yeah, you know, you're growing up. If you're a guitar player, you're going to get looked at. I mean, people love. In my high school, if you were in a band, you were cool whether you were cool or not. You know,
And
people loved
at
you
some point, I figured out that girls like that.
a little bit.
I wasn't into them in third grade, but maybe around 7th or 8th grade, I was. Oh, I think the girls like this.
Yeah, chicks dig the guitar players. They do. And
Not so much
bass
bass players.
Yeah. What's the bass player going to do, right? He's kind of just hanging in the back, keeping the rhythm. You've got some great stories, obviously, and you mentioned earlier about the people that you surround yourself with, and that you want to play with people you like playing with and you're friends with, and that kind of thing. But let's talk about that Cincinnati market, because what a community we have of musicians and great people in the Cincinnati area.
It's unbelievable, and I was with some friends of mine who live in a couple of bigger southern cities recently, and they were talking about how the live music scene in their town is just dead. There's nothing going on because nobody goes out to hear it. In Cincinnati, we have thousands of people that go out every single week, or at least once a month maybe, and hear live music. Therefore, the clubs have the bands out, the bands do all the work to get ready to play. Everybody's having fun and making money, but without those people going out to hear it, you wouldn't have all the stuff that's going on musically in town. But this town has some of the best players you're ever going to hear. I mean, there are people that, like, maybe they're not there. There are several different kind of scenes in town. There's that group that hangs out at the Bell and the Bear. There's the country groups. There's people like the guys that play over on the east side all the time, Marcus Sastry and Bam Powell and Bob Niswonger. Those guys, just as good a musicians as you're going to find anywhere, and they just kind of hang out on the east side and play over there and do their thing. But there's so many great guitar players in this town. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's sick. It really is, the amount of talent. And I saw 6 of you Saturday night who are some of the most talented musicians.
Yeah, we got 3 of them in the same band.
Kevin Tolles just said, he said a minute ago in here in a comment, he said super group. And that's what I would call your Eagles project, because you've put together a super group of like-minded guys who play wonderful music. And in their own right, and their other bands, you guys all have other projects and things. You're super players, but you put that together, man, and it's magical. It really is.
My other band, I don't think you've heard my other band, the Danny Frazier Band. That's a
I
pretty
have
tight band.
a while back. Yeah, a while back. But
if you hear the 4 of us, the regular 4 of us that are in the band, because we have a lot of people in different projects and we'll have subs coming in and stuff. But if you hear Nick Baverman on drums, Chris Goins on guitar, Danny Frazier on guitar, and me on bass, it's one of the best things I've ever been a part of. Like, Danny Frazier has just one of the greatest voices ever. If you want to see how good this guy is, what kind of a voice he has, he did the final trailer song for All Dogs Go to Heaven 2, and it's still out there. I'll post a link to it sometime. But you hear this guy, he can sing higher than me, and do low enough to do Merle Haggard songs, and he's just a singing machine. So come out to hear the Danny Frazier Band too.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, if you want to follow Greg on the social media, you can do that. You can follow him on Facebook at Gregory Amburgy. I'll scroll that across the bottom of the screen if you want to take note of that one. And then also you can follow all these bands that he's talking about on Facebook, the Eagles Project, Danny Frazier Band, Gina and Johnny Band. All those are on there as well if you want to give them a follow and a like, and find out where they're all playing and what's going on. Get out and see a show. Greg, let's back up about what you were talking about. And I've heard that from a lot of people in other markets too, that nobody's going out and hearing live music. Do you have any thoughts on why that is? Because some music places are just crashing because of that.
Yeah, I don't really know. The places we play, everything seems to be going pretty good. So I don't know some of the others. I mean, the casinos have been great for live music. They they pay you good, and anybody gets drunk, they're going to kick them out. So they're not, you know, if drunks bothering you.
That's
But
true.
the casinos have been good. We play at Jim and Jack's. We have like a couple hundred line dancers and two steppers that come out and play a couple times a month down there. We're there Saturday night I think this week. But I mentioned earlier, I don't know where all the young players are, because I know there's some great. You see these kids on YouTube, and they're just killing it. And then I'm going, okay, I better practice because they're coming after my gigs. They're not coming out. These young kids aren't forming bands and going out and playing. And I don't understand it, because when I was in my early 20s, that was the coolest thing you could do, is to get in a band and, you know, go out and try to develop a following locally, or try to get a record deal or anything like that. I just don't see it anymore. I think people would rather play for their Instagram audience or something.
Well, you know, that's funny you said that, because I know a band of great young kids who play music, and they take you back in time. They sound a lot like early Zeppelin and that kind of thing. And talking to them, they've never been out to see other bands. They've only time they've watched other bands is YouTube videos. And it's just amazing to me that you got to get out and hear that bar vibe. You've got to hear where guys are out there working their butts off to play music for people in a loud bar environment and things like that. And I don't know that they get it, you know. They've got their own original CDs out and that kind of thing.
It's kind of where you hone your craft. You get out there and you sometimes you suck. And so you got to get back in there and practice, and you have bad experiences, and you learn from them, and you go on, and you have a few wins and a few losses, and you just get better at what you're doing. But you have to play with a band in order to. I mean, Led Zeppelin played a prom at Xavier University. Did you know that?
Yes.
I mean, that's they were out playing, you know, bad gigs, and then they became Led Zeppelin
overnight. Yeah, overnight. It's amazing how that can work. And you're in some bands that have very big notoriety, obviously, in the Cincinnati, Dayton market and all that. Do you ever find that you want to strive for more than what you're doing? Or are you happy where you're at, just playing with the people you're playing with? And
I'm really happy doing what I'm doing now. I don't know that there's that much time for more. I've talked to somebody else, which I'm not at liberty yet to talk about, but there might be a kind of a duo thing that might be in the works, but we'll see.
You're being asked for a Christmas album here by Donna, by the way, in the comments.
Oh yeah, Donna always likes to. I get on there and play Christmas songs on Facebook.
Well, maybe you should be putting one out for everybody. You know, you never know.
Yeah,
it's all work, right? It is just more work on top of the work. But Johnny says you're a consummate pro and a great human to hang out with. Honored to create magic with him, and thank you, Johnny Fink, for that. We appreciate that comment. So, Greg, where are you headed to the future here? I mean, we're talking about it right now. What's your future plan?
I want to keep doing what I'm doing. Fortunately, my hands are working great. About 5 years ago, I started having problems with my hands and getting some tendonitis and some, you know, inflammation and things. And I started using apple cider vinegar, and my problems went away. And like my mom had arthritis, so I fortunately that hasn't happened to me. As long as I can still play, as long as I can still sing, I do a lot of abdominal work. I read like Tony Bennett, as he got older, he did a lot of sit-ups and things like that to help him pushing air through his vocal cords, because you lose muscle mass as you get older. So I'm trying to keep it going as long as I can, you know. And I never thought I'd be playing this much at my age, but I'm having so much fun. You know, who wants to quit?
You look like it on Saturday night when I saw you. You were having a blast up there. And do you have a favorite Eagles song that you do?
Yeah, I love doing Witchy Woman. It's probably my favorite. The one I don't like doing, there's a big joke in the band. I don't like doing "Love Will Keep Us Alive," and they make me do it, but it's just not it's not my favorite song. But
That's interesting because you do it so well. You
well,
do.
thanks.
And that's
That's
a
why
tough
they make
tune.
me keep doing it.
Yeah, tough tune there, and and you're doing stuff. You're doing the solo stuff, Timothy B. Schmidt stuff. You guys interject the Joe Walsh solos in there, and all those things. And man, you're playing Funk 49. You're doing all kinds of wild stuff in that
Yeah.
band. So it's an experience. And if anybody that's watching today or after we're live, certainly you need to get out and see the Eagles Project and the Danny Fraser Band and Gina and Johnny. If you want to see an incredible vocalist, Gina is one of the best in the tri-state as well. So
absolutely,
you're blessed, man. You are blessed to be playing with some really good people.
Did you go hear that Crimson Sisters thing a couple weeks ago?
I did. And were you there?
I was there.
Yeah.
Angela Combs and Gina together. Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, they should be rivals, and instead, no, they got together and just made a way better band.
Yeah.
And the guys playing with it, Roy Webb on keyboards, unbelievable. That guy, man.
And there again is another example of how wonderful our music community is. When you put Angela, and Angela just popped on, by the way. Thank you, Angela. You put Angela and Gina together on stage, like you said, who are out there working hard for each other, and trying to work, but bring them together. And it created an unbelievably amazing experience there. And what a cool little place that Fenton Center is. I like it.
That was nice.
Yeah, it's
nice.
Very intimate and not a bad seat in the place. And yeah, I love that show. It was wonderful. And I love going to see Angela play. I love going to see Gina play. And I want to see more of the Crimson Sisters. I don't know about you, but I'd like to see that happening more often too, because it's a good one.
Absolutely.
And you got Rob Olson over there on guitar. I mean, what a pro he is. Just some really good players joining them. And Greg, I want to ask you a couple more questions before we go today. And one of those, and guys, if you're watching after we're live, you can drop comments in. Greg will share this on his page. I'll share it on mine. And if you have questions, we'll make sure you get them answered here in the comments and so on. So please do. But, we've talked about upcoming gigs. We've talked about where you're heading in the future and all that, Greg. But what kind of pleasure does playing music bring to you? I mean, what does it do for your soul?
If I'm having a really bad day, I can come in here and sit down at my keyboard and play for a half hour, and I feel great. And just it's still exciting for me. It never gets old. I don't know. It's just it's the thing I've been blessed with, and I'm very happy about.
Yeah, well, it's and you have a talent, and you've blessed us with your talent as well. When I stood there Saturday watching you do your solo songs that you do singing, and I'm thinking, how well rounded is this band of vocalists? I mean, you got that front lineup up there of people that are just strong players and vocalists, and you're right in there with them. And like you said, there's a song there you do that everybody is just moved by, but it's not necessarily your favorite. So, that says a lot that you put that effort into it, because people really love that tune,
And
they do.
The one thing you have to have if you have an Eagles band is you have to have somebody who can scream those Glenn Fry screams. And as high as I can sing, I can't do some of them, but we have Rick Kern, and Rick can do all of that stuff. And so there are a couple songs, like one we were doing, I can't remember which. Oh, it was anyway. And when they asked me if I could do it, and I said, yeah, but I can't hit that scream at the end. And Rick goes, oh, I'll get that. So he screams that little part at the end.
When I came up on stage with you Saturday, I was talking to Rick before we went up and made the introduction, and I was joking with him. I said, okay, what pocket do you have your magic pliers in there that you squeeze something to make that noise? Because he hit some high notes there that are Mariah Carey-ish.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's so good. And we love, I love everybody in that band. Those guys are all great people. And you've been nothing but a great pro with me as well, every time I've ever run into you. And I appreciate you so much for bringing the talent you guys do to Cincinnati. And your story is an interesting one because, deep in the roots of church and school music and early bands and those kind of things. And you've played gospel, you played it all. It's a well-rounded musician story. And I don't think the story's over yet. I think you've got more to bring us. And it appears to me you're having so much fun with this, Greg.
I am. And one thing I'm very excited about, you might see my poster back here, the big bottom poster with Derek Smalls, the Spinal Tap bass player. The Spinal Tap sequel is finally coming out 40 years later in September. And one day we're going to get like every musician in Cincinnati to go pack some theater and I'll watch it together. So watch that. It's awesome. Probably going to be like a Sunday afternoon matinee. And we're going to put a couple hundred of Cincinnati's best musicians in a theater watching the sequel to This Is Spinal Tap, the greatest mockumentary of all time or rockumentary of all time. If you haven't seen Spinal Tap, they're coming out with a new edited version of it this summer. And if you're a musician, you'll get most of these jokes. It's hilarious. It's a fake band, but they were England's loudest band.
You have a little Spinal Tap moment, I think, every time you get on stage with Rick Kern because his monitor's at 11.
Yes. At least. And in a Tesla car, the volume knob goes to 11.
Nice.
I think Elon Musk thought that was funny, so they put that in their Tesla cars.
Perfect. So, what else do you have to share today before we get to the last question of the day, Greg?
I don't know.
Hello, Cleveland. Thanks, Jeff Vance.
Hello, Cleveland.
That's great. Yes.
That comes up. Sometimes I'll get in the mic at a sound check and say, "This is mic number one. This is mic number one. Isn't this a lot of fun?" Because that was what they do in sound check. But anyway,
you got to watch the movie, people.
Yeah.
And if you're going to go see the new one, watch the old one before you do.
Yes.
Definitely. So anything else you want to share with the folks out there about your history or any of that?
No, not really. I just, love music. I'm glad I'm in this town. I probably make more money playing music than 90% of the people in Nashville. Because if you're not in one of those, in those top tier bands, you ain't making any money in Nashville.
That's why there's a lot of broken guitars in the trash cans out in front of those places on Broadway.
There's some of the greatest musicians you will ever run into waiting tables at Applebee's in Nashville.
Amen to that.
It's crazy what the competition's like down there.
And then you come to Cincinnati and you've got equally the quality people here that are out there playing, and you've got a lot of venues. We got to keep those venues open. We got to keep people going, and because without the venues, there is no live music scene. So we got to keep those people in mind and help them out. And
yeah, I think Karis has figured it out there at the Bell and the Bear. She's got it going on.
She does.
Crowds there all the time.
We had our 100th episode yesterday of Hot Topic Tuesday together, and she's a pleasure to work with. I always enjoy. She makes me laugh every day, and she's a great businesswoman as well. And that place just has a cool musician vibe. It's just
that used to be McCleady's Pub.
Yeah,
and I played there. I think I played there in 1983 with a horn band called Caliber, and the stage was only about half the size of the stage now, and we had 8 people on that stage in that tiny little club with 4 horn players. But
and also I just learned you're a mover. It says you're a great friend. He'll even help you move.
Who did I help move?
Donna
McCann. Oh yeah. I think I did one time.
How about that? So I got one last question for you before we have to run today. And again, folks, thank you for tuning in today. We appreciate you being here. Greg, it's been an honor to have you on, and I'll mention that again before we go. But if you could take the stage with any person, past or present, as a bucket list performance, basically, who would it be?
No doubt it would be Andre Crouch and the Disciples. That was my favorite group growing up. They kind of pushed the envelope into jazz and blues. It was a gospel group. that just really inspired me and made me want to practice. And I just loved. I saw him live, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, and I got to play with one of the background singers, Danny Bell Hall, one time on a TV show, and that was a highlight of my life. But Andre Crouch, no doubt, that was my favorite.
There it is. Well, ladies and gents, you can follow Greg on Facebook at Gregory Amburgy, and you can follow all those bands that he plays in, the Danny Frazier Band, the Eagles Project, and the Gina and Johnny Band as well on the social medias. They would love to have you do that. Aaron Thomas has told people many times he wants to be Greg Amburgy when he grows up. How about that?
Hey, if you send me a friend request on Facebook, send me an instant message and tell me how you know me, because I get so many of these weird phishing requests.
Yes.
So just send me a quick instant message.
Keyboard warriors. Thank you, Gina. She said about 15 years ago, Go Bananas and McCleavy's were her pregame spot heading to the club until 3 a.m. There you go. Yes. And Dave says, hi, Greg. And Donna says, great show today, guys. Thank you so much. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in. Greg, I can't thank you enough. It's been an honor to have you on, and I love what you're doing. And I really do. You're a great pro up there.
Thank you very much, Scott.
It's always a good time to have you here. And anytime you want to come back and share anything with us, we'd love to have you back on the show. And don't forget, guys, as well, we'll be with you tomorrow live at 5 with Who's Playing Out, the best musicians and venues in the tri-state and where they're playing. So tune in for our list and plan your weekend of live local music. Thanks to Mr. Greg Amburgy, and follow his bands, if you will, as we've talked about them today. Greg, stay with me for just a minute. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time right here at All Around Town Radio. Don't forget, everybody, the views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of our sponsors or any entities they may represent.
There's a man